charged. But
all right. I'll start with I'm just gonna put in an intro so I can put it in somewhere. Coming up on Verse Chorus Verse. Hey, we don't always know when it's gonna be a 2-parter, people. But I mean, we should have seen this coming from a mile away. We'll be right back. Welcome to Verse Chorus Verse episode 169, Svend. 69! Drunk assessment, Svend.
12-year-old boy, aren't I?
Where are you at?
Are
you sober? I hope not.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I feel like I'm going to be disappointing some people because now you finally get to see my face and I'm not like falling out of my chair.
It is kind of weird, I got to say.
I don't think I've slurred a word yet. I probably have.
I have.
But not from being drunk, just because I can't speak.
I'm speaking much better than I was when I was sober. I'm feeling pretty good. I've had a couple French 75s. They're really strong. We got to get back to talking about Dave. Here's a question for you, and I may have to just vamp on it for a little bit because I don't know if you have, but did you listen or have you listened before to Dave Matthews' solo album?
I have. Ooh.
You have?
I have.
So do you have thoughts on it?
I do. Hang on. I've got to pull up because I added I actually downloaded a couple of tracks that I really love.
I love that. Okay. I just put my hand up for a pause. Okay. Okay. So you do know the album Some Devil released in 2003.
I think the first time I heard a song that was for that album was not on that album. I heard Gravedigger live.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to find out, like, you know, where'd that come from? Like, what album was it on? So I can't remember if it was like on a live tracks or one of their live releases, and went back and found it on Some Devil. So that's one of I think I liked it live better. It's me.
Weird,
huh? Although the acoustic version of it at the end of the album is like a pretty,
it's good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I felt like that was my, like, at the end of the album, like, oh, okay, they did something. Kind of like, thank you, Dave. That kind of, I don't know why, it just has a different, less studio-y.
Oh,
yeah, anyway.
It totally does.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. But the other one that So Damn Lucky.
That's a great song.
That is
him and Trey.
That's my, yeah. And Trey's on like 4 or 5 songs on there.
I think they basically, like, Dave writes all these, but I think they just were like, hey, we're Trey and Dave. Let's just go into the studio for a month and fucking
see what comes out. Which,
smoke a bunch of pot and drink some Jack, and yeah.
They've done a lot of stuff together, weirdly enough. And even like with like Jack Johnson and stuff. But anyway, like I'm familiar with it. I would say that, like, looking at the album credits before I listened to them kind of helped, because I was like, okay, that's a list of musicians that, like, I love all of those. Those are all like jammy guys.
That's why I asked, because I was like, dude, so this is why, okay. I think that if Svend and I both had to vote on the best Dave album that Dave was a part of, when I was really studying for this and thinking harder, and I'd be like, I bet actually Some Devil would be high up there, because there's a lot of that lone man kind of country-esque vibe, dude alone in a bar drinking about the fuck-ups in life.
Yeah.
But then you look at the fucking cast on this, and it's so subdued, and the writing is so, like, you look at the cast and you think, oh my God, this is going to be like insane, but it's not. It's just really well written. You brought up So Darn Lucky. Those fucking guitar parts are so goddamn gorgeous. Like, oh my God.
I think, like, as much as we were just going on and on about, like, the superhero drummer, Some Devil is so well written. I didn't miss the rhythm section.
That's
the Dave Matthews
exactly
band. Like
yes,
it didn't.
Yes.
It didn't feel like it needed it. Like it was.
I'm not saying Dave needed proof that he didn't, that like Carter and Stefan aren't a crutch, but Some Devil is, I mean, I honestly, like, I won't dissect it today, but it could be a 10 out of 10 album. It's fucking phenomenal. And there, you know, you get to song, we'll talk about some of the specific songs later, but I'm so glad. I was actually like 70% expecting to be like, nah, didn't listen to it. Studio album, fuck that. Doesn't even have Carter on it. Doesn't have Stefan. Why the fuck would I ever listen to that?
Well, it didn't have a drum machine, so that helped.
That's true.
And I will say that, like, researching for this episode, I did make sure I went and listened to. I can now say I've listened to every Dave Matthews Band studio album one time through.
You listened to all of them?
One time.
Wow.
Yes. Now, not all, like, some of them I had heard one time before researching for this, so I didn't play those ones all the way through. But the last like 6 albums, I was pretty far behind. What was weird though is like I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh yeah, I know that song. Oh yeah, I know that song too. I'd kept up with their songs through concerts, but like it was an interesting. It's interesting when you know the live version and then you go back and hear the studio version for the first time. It's like the opposite of what normally happens. And that was a strange experience because there was times where
really
I was like,
cool.
"Here comes
That's cool.
No, that they don't do that." Okay.
So let me ask you: are you the type of person that when that happens, you don't like it? You're like, "Oh, whoa, why is the guitar?" Here's the thing that I love that Dave does, but it throws you off. Is they'll switch from their studio albums to their live albums if they are soloing on the minor or the major parts.
Yeah.
And I love that. But I could see where like listening to a studio album and expecting like a major solo on Jimmy thing and getting a minor, it'd be like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know?
that stuff actually is really cool to me. It's more the songs are shorter. There's not as much of a fly by the seat.
Not as much
I love the fly by the seat of your pants kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows what's going to happen after this. Carter hit the snare drum 20 times in a row. What's coming next? It better be good.
Better be good. If you're just going to start a song with if you're just going to start a song with 34 seconds of Carter hitting the snare on one beat,
whatever's next,
you better be good.
Better be damn.
But then
good.
then that's what's amazing is this came out in 90, like Ants Marching comes out in 94 on Under the Table and Dreaming. This is the same year that the fucking Blue album came out, and fucking Core by Purple by Stone Temple Pilots, and like this sort of shit. Jar of Flies, and they're coming out with Ants Marching, where you hear a snare for 30 seconds, and then you get a harmonizing violin and sax.
Yeah,
like
for another
how
like
that. How is that famous? How is that popular?
Yeah,
but it worked.
It worked. And you know what? Okay, so this is something you asked me about the live, and I like half answered. But one thing I have to just cram into this episode real quick is I have no idea what Dave Matthews says in any of his lyrics. Like even the ones where I've tried to learn so that I can sing and play, I have no fucking idea. Like half the time I think I'm making up words that sound kind of like syllables that come out of his mouth. But what that did for me is it's weird. It's why I like music and artists that sing in other languages, because I started listening to Dave almost like he was scatting. Like it was just like syllabic, it was just another
Well, in your defense, it's really
Percussive
hard to
instrument.
understand a guy that's going like, "What the gong ba ticka ticka baby?" Like, what? Like, you're not saying anything. Come on, man.
But yeah, I mean, he is. He's not easy to understand anyway. But
Yeah.
what I found was that like I could actually still catch pieces of story and conversation and like
I love that.
meaning without knowing what any of the words were, which is what I loved about jazz. You know, I was already into jazz.
That's cool.
And then
Yeah.
that's when I started like realizing you could do that same stuff with rock music and pop music, and like improvisation didn't just have to be for like, you know, saxophones and trumpets and like little jazz combos and stuff. You didn't have to play
Yeah.
bebop. You could jam, and I don't know. I feel like that's something from somewhere, like I don't know, if a Rolling Stone article or something where Dave was like, yeah, like from 91 to 94, like we only had like 3 songs, so we really relied on like the jazz guys, like Leroy, and you know, like
Yeah.
they would just stretch stuff out so we could fill out the set and stuff. And it's like, well, that's still, they never stopped doing that even after they had more than 4 songs. They've got like a bajillion songs, and they get up on stage and like the studio song becomes like this freaking epic adventure,
Which is amazing.
So-
A little bit different every year.
yeah.
Okay, I'm ambushing you, Svend. This is DL's ambush of the night. I should make that a thing. The ambush of the night.
This should be drink.
This is going to be interesting. And grain of salt, because Svend is a really, really good person, as you regular listeners know. And the dude's, I don't know, maybe he's had enough beer to speak ill of the dead. I don't know. But here we go.
Dude, get me started on some
Sven.
Michael Bublé bull.
He's not dead yet. You haven't killed him yet.
Oh,
When we were in high school, I was adamant, but keep in mind, I had no idea how to play any sort of brass. No woodwinds, nothing like that. You were very adamant that Leroy Moore was a mediocre player at best. And I mean like at best. Like you kind of fucking hated him. And I think there was a little bit of a like, you do not deserve to be in that band kind of thing. But where do you stand on, as you've grown older, do you feel that way now? Where do you stand with Leroy Moore's playing?
okay. Definitely there was some jealousy going on because tenor sax was my main instrument at that time. And I was pretty hardcore about it.
You were.
I think now, looking back, what I can say is he played down to make his saxophone parts relevant in the song, and to also not make it a bebop chart or like a jazz chart. Like he played to the song, which in hindsight, that's what great musicians actually do. Like my favorite bass player of all time, Leland Sklar, plays some of the simplest stuff, but he has more
he's all
number
right.
1 hits recorded than any other bass player and than most other musicians, right? So I think there's a little bit of that going on. But like he's not like I wouldn't put him up there. I don't know. Like he's not like John Coltrane or something. I mean, he's good.
No.
Even like Michael Brecker and some of these other guys, James Mayer, that are like sax players that are more contemporary. I mean, I think Leroy could hold his own, and I think he was a way better player than I gave him credit for back in the day. He's more than mediocre. I will say that I was like mediocre is really mean. I don't know. But
I mean, you know what's funny though is, and I get that. I totally get that. And I think so. Here's the thing, and I was putting Svend on blast, which isn't fair. So I will put myself right there with him. You and I have both played violin. We both like. I'm sure you're better at it than me, but I've played violin a lot in my life, and I don't suck at it. I could say the same thing about Boyd. Like Boyd's great.
yeah.
He can fiddle the shit out of some stuff, but he he doesn't rip shit the way that I would expect a Dave Matthews Band member to rip shit. You know what I mean? Like, I could say the same thing about Boyd, that like, you know, if I was playing for a living, I would run circles around that guy. But that's the thing, is there's something about his playing that even though it's it's simple, even when he's soloing, it's fairly simple.
Yeah.
It just works so well with the band. So well.
See, I feel like I flipped, and I think I'm going to be a little harder on Boyd. I was hard on Leroy back then, but Boyd, I don't know. I feel like Lindsey Sterling can do backflips and dance in high heels and still play way cooler licks than Boyd just playing the same chord. Like, that was his thing. He'd find a chord and then just
and fiddle it.
Chord change.
Yeah.
You know.
I totally agree. He made the violin seem a little bit simpler than it was.
Yeah. And it wasn't that I feel like he could do more because he was like educated. And
he played for like fucking 40 years. He left the band, by the way. We don't like, we're not tiptoeing around it, to be honest. I don't really know what happened. I know that he got kicked out of the band because there were some allegations about him grooming like some younger males or something like that.
Sexual misconduct allegations that he was adamant that he would defend himself in and out of court. They settled out of court. Like, the allegations in 2018, they settled out of court.
Oh, that's recent.
Don't know what the settlement was. I didn't peep at that info, but 2019.
But he hasn't played with the band since, right?
And he hasn't played. I think the band's official statement was, it's unfortunate, like, these allegations have come out. We are there for our friend, and we want him to take some time to focus on his health and then get better, kind of a thing. And that was their statement.
That's pretty. I'm sure a very good lawyer drafted that up for them. Okay,
hey,
we are back. Yes, sir.
Could mean a mountain to somebody else, and I might have just intended a molehill.
You're an insane fucking person.
I'm insane, but you know what? That quote, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. That is like one of my favorite quotes about lyrics from the man we're talking about right now.
Dave said that?
He said that. In answering a question about the autonomy of art, and how he says, I really like the idea that once you finish something, you put it in the world. It's no longer yours. And what it means, what you intended, doesn't matter anymore. Could mean a mountain to somebody else, and I might have just intended a molehill. And I think he was also talking about, like, when people try to guess the meaning of, like, crash, or guess the meaning, you know, like, he's got some songs that are like you said, like, some of his lyrics are gibberish nonsense, but some of them are like, oh, you could, like, really dig. You could go down a rabbit hole. And someone was asking him about one of those, and he was just like, I don't know. You explain it to me. Like, sounds like you know more about it than I do.
I wonder if much like Foo Fighters, if he's been asked a bunch about specific songs and if they are about his sister. I bet that's good. That must be not fun. He does, you know, he has some songs that have some, like, some of his lyrics are stupid and way too simple for me, but man, he has some good shit too. You know, he like, I have a give and take relationship with the song I think it's Rhyme and Reason, right? I think that's the one that's about heroin. That is, he has one of my favorite lines of all time, which is super simple, is "My head won't leave my head alone." That's such a good line. I mean, it's weird hearing a band like Dave Matthews Band sing a song about heroin addiction. Just like, what the fuck do you guys know about heroin?
What do you-
Like, what are we doing? Like, you guys have smoked pot and that's it. Like, come on. You guys drink Jack and smoke pot.
Right.
Like, why are you singing about
Singing about
heroin?
heroin.
Yeah.
I feel like though he kind of writes things that he doesn't think about him that, you know, he doesn't analyze, I don't think, his own lyrics when he's writing them. It's just like, that fits, it sounds good, okay.
Exactly. I think he does the Beck thing where it's like, it's all about syncopation. It's all about what fits in the song. I don't give a fuck what, like Bartender. Him and Tim playing Bartender is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And Bartender is him at his best. And in order to make the lyrics fit, he throws in barber please.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's about a barber instead of a bartender.
A bartender.
If you like, wait a minute, what? Barber please? What the fuck are you talking about?
But that's like, to him, that delivery and being like, and his voice it's so percussive. The way he delivers lyrics, it's so it's a percussion instrument, and I love
it. Totally is.
And so I can see how, like, to someone like that, it's like, well, the syllables are gonna take precedent over the actual like word and meaning, and it's close. Like, I could see how that would happen, but it's just like, it's, you know, bartender, barber. Hey, I don't know. Maybe at Miller's, he was like slinging drinks and then like had some shears and some scissors over on the side, and like, you know, like Jack and Coke and a little snip.
Maybe he's insinuating that Jesus was a barber to make some scratch in his early teens. You know? Nobody ever talks about Jesus in his early teens. Who knows what the fuck that guy was doing?
Carpenter, cutting hair. I don't know. I
feel like Carpenter would have been later. Well, maybe not back then. Like, you're probably full on professional by 13, right?
Yeah, like you're married by then, right? Or that's just the girls.
I mean, I think it's both. To me, lyrically, he's at his best when he is melancholy, and although he does, you know, the simple stuff that works with Dave is the eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That's great. Like, you want to hear that sort of shit coming out of Dave Matthews. But then you have like Some Devil, where he's got all these. What's the excuse me, please, one more drink. Can you make it strong? I don't need to think. No, that's off of Busted Stuff. That's Grace Is Gone. Sorry. But, the reason that I said Some Devil is because there's a lot of songs like that on Some Devil, like Stay or Leave and those sort of things. But yeah, lyrically, he's got a lot of dumb shit, and he's got a lot of really cool shit too. And I think you're right. I think it's all about syncopation for him.
I want to know how to smoke a bumblebee.
What song is that from?
Isn't that from Tripping Billies?
Does
dragons.
He say smoke a bumblebee?
Dragons were smoked. Bumblebees.
Dragons were smoked. Bumblebees were stinging us.
Smoking.
They weren't
Puff?
stinking us.
Was he like?
Man.
Was
They
that
were
like
stinging
a?
us.
See, this is like what people do. Like that, a reference to Puff, the magic dragon. Dragon was smoked.
Weird. Dave's talking about pot. Super weird.
Maybe, I don't know. You know, one time someone asked him if something was about his dad, and he's like, "Why? Because my dad died." Like, well, yeah. He's like, well, yeah. I guess I don't know. My dog died. Could have been about my dog. That was in the GQ interview.
It's like, have you listened to my lyrics? I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
Like, wait, what? Yeah, I think it was like right after that he was like, I don't know. It sounds like you know more about the song than I do. So you tell me what it's about.
That's fantastic. Are there any songs, Svend, that stick out to you for Dave? Like, look, Dave Matthews Band, I'll be straight. As I've gotten older, I listen to it to hear Carter. I do. But there are songs that Dave, to me, rips shit on, that he shines. Are there songs like that for you? And actually, Yeah. Let's do that first. Are there songs like that for you where Dave really shines?
Not like in the way that like a soloist or like a. To me, he shines as like a maestro. Like he's, like you watch a symphony, the conductor, like he does that while he's doing the voice and his guitar parts. Like we already talked about some of the way he plays guitar and stuff.
Fucking
like
crazy.
You have to disconnect your guitar brain from your vocal brain. And I think he even describes like practicing that, like trying to play, like he'd write a riff and then he would just try to loop, like just keep playing the riff and just talk to somebody to see if he could disconnect the muscle, So to me, where he shines and where I'm just blown away is when like him leading the band, like, cause he's giving cues, he's giving direct, like all the improvisation, all the fly by seat of your pants and stuff that's like spontaneous. It's spontaneous, but it's also directed. Like he's giving so many cues and they're all talking. It's how he does that while still like remembering lyrics and remembering those crazy guitar parts.
Well, I mean, he doesn't remember his lyrics. He sings something different all
but
the time.
Something comes out. And everyone's like, yeah!
Yeah.
And it's on beat.
You're totally
and there's
right.
enough syllables.
Yeah. Yes. No, you're totally right. I do. I love, so there, these other things about Dave playing that I love. And I love, one of the things that really stuck with me with Dave that was so unique about him and makes him such a good band person, that makes it just work with him having these incredible band members, is he is a chord riff guy. Like he's not, most all bands are chords or they're riffs. You got your Black Keys, you got your Jack White, you got that sort of thing, or you got your Weezer. Dave brought this thing where he'd play, like we were talking about, he'd play an A flat and then he'd like do a little dink 3-note riff and dive into a D. Like it was the coolest thing. Is like Lie in Our Graves, where it's the glen and a dun dun, or Jimmy thing where it's the dun dun dun. He was he's not dead. He is so good at that. Yeah. And I absolutely love that. And then the other thing that he started doing after I think it was after he realized just how incredible of a band he had, was he started doing these like 2-note chords.
Yes.
And the first time I saw that, I've emulated it ever since, because as a rhythm guitarist, it makes all the other shit in your band just shine.
Oh yeah.
And he is the king of that. He is that's how you know he's an amazing band leader, is because he was like, what is the minimal amount I can do on this guitar that's gonna fill it enough to make everybody else sound amazing. Like that's him.
All you beginner guitar players that like just heard Dave say that, go play the root note and then play the third of the chord an octave up. Just do that.
That's it.
And you can just use these two fingers, index and middle finger, and you will sound like Dave Matthews. Yep. And what's crazy is if every now and then you let your hand loosen up so some of the open strings kind of come through, it sounds like your Dave Matthews Band. Like playing all the different parts.
It works.
Which is why you don't need to do this with your hands.
Yeah. But you can if you want.
But you can
if you do this and then you add the this and the this.
Because then you look like
actually sounds
Crimson.
really good.
It does sound really good. Because then you can actually hit the root above the third. So you have the root, third, root. But
it's so good. The song, when I realized that Dave was just his own thing in, like, even though he would never be a Stevie Ray Vaughan or a Jimi Hendrix, that he deserved to be up in that stratosphere, was so much to say. There's that guitar riff is so frantic.
Yeah.
That
I love that.
Like it's up chord down, do dot dot dot. It doesn't like. I don't understand how you write that.
Yeah,
that's the thing about it.
And then how you sing the syncopated, so much to say, so much to like how you rhythmically line that out in your brain so that your hands and your mouth
and in the same time, what he's doing is what we were talking about earlier is, you know, he's like, hell is the closet and I'm stuck inside. And instead of, it could be a really easy chord where it's just ding, ding, ding. But instead you see his fingers and he's dum, bum, 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 bum. It's like, God, what are you doing to yourself, man? But it sounds, you'll never hear anything else like it.
Dave Matthews must be really good in a threesome. Like, dude can keep track of, plus his hands can like, and he's got coverage.
Plus he's famous, so he's probably been in a bunch of them.
Plus he's got experience in that department.
And then you have songs like Gray Street, where, like we were talking about, it's, you know, the 2-note chords, the blah, 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 blah. But the configuration, the simplicity that lets the rest of the band shine. And that is one song where his lyrics are incredible, where he's painting the story of this girl that is just stuck in this life that she never, like, she dreamed herself 1,000 times around the world, but she can't get out of this place. Like the amount of people that have lived that life, it's such a well written song. There's the so much to say part of Dave that's just showing off his chops and is incredible. And then there's the Gray Street, which is just a simply written, amazingly beautiful song. He's very good at both.
Yeah. I think that's what one of the reasons I love when I hear him do collaborations with other musicians is that he can fit whatever role is necessary. He's so flexible. Like, he can do the super simple, or he can also like do like the super complicated rhythms and weird, you know. And so, I don't know. Like, he's done some stuff with Jack Johnson and Trey Anastasio that like I've thought is like almost like think is better than like stuff he does with his own band.
We you know, it's funny. I remember when I was a little, very young, and I have an uncle who I very much like always worshipped, and you know, the kind of the big brother syndrome, and his musical taste was everything to me. And the one guy that I was trying to show him was Dave. Was like, dude, you just gotta check out Dave. And he didn't. He's like a punk rocker at heart, so he's not like, I don't give, like, that shit sucks, you know. But then one day, years later, he's like, okay, dude, I watched Dave Matthews Storytellers, and it's him like going through the songs and then playing them, and he's like, that dude is insane.
Yeah.
And I've never felt so vindicated in my life.
Well, I mean, you know why he responded initially to Dave Matthews that way? Because of the studio albums.
So I got to say something, Sven.
Okay.
And you're rarely going to hear this on this podcast, but I have been studying very hard for this for a couple weeks. And I got to say, you are right. Listening to the live shit, it just hits different with Dave. It really does. Like, there's a couple songs where I will be a staunch defender of like, dude, this is so amazing in the studio, and we don't even have to bring them up. But man, listening to some of these songs live, I was like, God damn, like this band just needs to be heard live. It just does.
In all the incarnations of the band. Like I feel like every time the band changes, like they rotate a new member in and out, like I get a little like I'm like irritated.
Yeah.
Just like even if it's for good reasons or whatever, it's like this is you're breaking up the chemistry because that's what it is. It's chemistry. And what's nuts is
totally
they're always
is.
able to find. Maybe it's okay. I just had a thought. I was always thinking like maybe they're always able to like have auditions and find these people that are just the perfect fit.
No,
But maybe
It's
they're
not
just
that.
a band that makes other people fit. Like because of the type of band that they are, like a new person can really easily
Svend,
just
they have Carter Beauford and Stefan Lassard.
as
Put
long
a
as
fucking
those
Muppet
two
with
members
them,
don't
and
rotate out,
they would be fucking amazing.
bring in whatever trumpet player you want.
Yep, it
What-
don't
no.
fucking matter, man. Yeah. Look, there's some other song. Let's actually, yeah. No, I want to do that. I want to go song to song on some that I know that you've heard because there are songs that Dave has written, and keep that in mind. This is the reason that Dave deserves to be talked about. It's not just like. It's not that he founded the band, and it's not he's the most important one. He's not the most important one for Svend and I, and that will be proven in our next episode. But it's the Dave Matthews Band, and he's the writer. He writes these songs. He writes a song like, okay, so I'm going to talk about one of my favorite songs now. And even though it was a hit, with Dave Matthews, typically it's the hit songs that I like the least. Mm-hmm. But the one that I think hit the hardest and was so amazing is Don't Drink the Water.
Oh,
And
that's like the post-apocalyptic, like I've conquered all this and now I'm looking back at everything that I've like walked over.
No,
and
that's
taken over.
that's like that's like British people. That's like the founding of America is what that is. Is we came to this land and we said to the Native Americans like, "Hey, thanks for the land, guys. Peace out." That's what Don't Drink the Water is.
Don't have to justify any of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I have no time to justify to you fools. You're blind. Move
There
aside
you
from
go.
me.
See, okay, I
Yeah.
get credit for like having one word of the lyric
You
right.
did great. Yeah. Do you remember who guest sings on that song?
Oh shit.
Super random. One of your favorite drummers of all time was her drummer for a small period of time.
Wait, Alanis Morissette is on that?
You know that bemoaning like kind of wail towards the end that's a female? That's Alanis Morissette.
It's Alanis Morissette.
Isn't that crazy?
They could have just used a sample, but they got Alanis
They
Morissette.
totally could have. It was
Been
pointless.
like $10,000 cheaper.
That's
why the next album they just went ahead and. No, sorry.
Yeah. No, that song is so incredible, and it's there are very, very rare times where Dave has a sort of angry. I'd almost call it like an angry swagger. You know, songs like Halloween or Don't Drink the Water to me is the best one, but. There's very few times that he does it, but when he does it, it really hits. And Don't Drink the Water to me is a big one.
He gets that like raspy, like that growl in his voice. Like he's not like a normal. Like you don't think of him as like a growly kind of singer.
No,
but like Halloween, Don't Drink. Like he has a quality in his voice that like it. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's got
Rhyme
a
and
little bite,
Reason.
like a little.
He's doing like the needle to the vein thing. Yeah. He's But then he's got, and then there are songs that he does where it's just the writing, where there's the Lie in Our Graves, or there's, the Lie in Our Graves, the instrumental 3/4 through, where they're just doing the chord hits, the bam, bam, and they change it to minor, and then they go back to major for 3, minor for 1. Like there's little things like that he writes. The incredibleness of his band would not be able to shine if it wasn't for him writing parts like that.
Yeah. And that's another good example of just like the main riff, the bum 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 like the phrasing of that is so weird compared to what you would expect like most guitar players to riff.
Yeah.
Which gives guys like all the jazz guys and like the Carter Beaufords and the like these accents to just play off of. And
yeah,
it's not just this song, but like his guitar parts are just rhythmically and phrasing like just it's different. It's
it's very different.
The way he counts things out in his head and the way it opens up so many opportunities. I think that's why when the band gets to just like cut loose and do stuff live, it becomes so magical.
No, I agree. There's a couple other songs that I'd like to talk about. We talked about Gray Street, So Much to Say, Don't Drink the Water, Bartender Line, or like this is the thing about Dave is I could go off forever about some of the stuff he's written. We already talked about Some Devil and the fact that just like stuff like Grace Is Gone off of Busted Stuff, which I don't remember the exact story about Busted Stuff, but it ended up like coming out. This was during the Napster days, and it ended up getting ripped and coming out first. So they're just like, fuck it, we'll just come out leaked with it. Yeah. But do you have any final thoughts on Dave? Like,
well, I was going to ask you if you had a favorite Dave guitar riff.
Yes, I do. Well, so we already talked about So Much to Say, which is just a fucking beast. But you know what? I've got a couple actually.
Me too.
So the song on Crash, by the name of Drive In, Drive Out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh yeah.
It's like, hey band, here's like the best fucking swaggery blues riff ever for you guys to just go off on.
Yeah.
I mean, to me that's Dave in a nutshell, really. Like, what about you?
Drive and Drive. Yeah. I've got two. Go in a different direction slightly. Granny.
I like it.
And Christmas song.
Granny's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. And then like the Christmas song, I think is probably the one that has always to me been like just trying to count it is weird. And I feel like even Satellite is easier to play and sing than that one. And I don't know why, but there's something about it. I could even like he doesn't even have to sing. He could just play that riff over and over, and I would just like, that's a cool. I don't know.
I feel like I used to play that in high school, and I do remember. You know those songs where when you're in the middle of playing, you get super relieved when you get to like the easy chorus or whatever.
Yeah,
was like, and then all of a sudden you're at the and love.
Oh yeah!
Oh thank God! It's like, oh God! Now I got to get back to the fucking
yeah. And like Granny with like the sliding around.
Yeah, what the time? You're right. The time signature in that is fucked.
Yeah. But
it totally
this is the thing. It doesn't matter because your drummer is Carter Beauford. And so it doesn't matter what meter. He's going to just subdivide it all down into like these, like.
Yeah, don't worry. I got you. I do love the guitar riff on Rhyme or Reason. The
yeah.
I love those
jumps again because his fingers have to be like 5 miles apart.
Which that wouldn't sound the same if you were playing a chord and you're like ba da 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 da. It wouldn't.
It wouldn't be all
that
disjointed.
frantic.
It would sound way too connected and way too like legato.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
He does. Even if it's
but
by
then
accident sometimes.
Yeah, like I said, I really do love all the like the grace is gone and the stay or leave and the Some Devil. The song Some Devil. That's a good line too. You said always and forever. It's such a long, lonely time. That's a brutal lyric, especially when you add in that song there's the line the like too drunk and still drinking. It's just the way I feel. Like this is a dude that had his heart crushed,
stomped,
and yeah, it's there. He's good at that like brutal drinking country sort of thing. He really is.
Yeah. I want to hear a Dave Matthews Country album.
I mean, Some Devil it's not country by any means, but Some Devil kind of had the ethos of a country album.
Yeah.
It kind of, it's like, I'm going to go off and do my own thing, and I'm drinking, and I'm just a guy with my guitar with a couple of friends, and
imagine
if
it was possible for him to collaborate. Actually, never mind. I'm not too good. That's another rabbit hole. I'm gonna save that for like episode, like whenever we come back to talk about the full band, because I've got some like
awesome
in the third one of these when we talk about like all the other ones that aren't Dave and Carter. We need to do like a if there were like people that could be in the band, and I'm gonna save us for that.
Ooh, like us? If we could be in the band,
I mean,
that would be pretty cool.
I would have played everything Leroy could and more. Rest in peace.
Dave Matthews. We have expressed that we're big fans. Incredible writer, incredible guitar player. So here's a question for you, Svend. Would you say that Dave Matthews is an underrated guitar player?
Yeah, so much. So yeah, very much underrated.
Love that. Because I would too.
Yeah.
Very much so. I think people think of him as either a annoying frontman or a guy that was blessed with a really good band. But I think he's pretty.
If you don't try to play his guitar parts, you have no idea how underrated he is. Because it sounds so simple. If you don't play guitar, it sounds so simple. Even if you do play guitar, he makes it sound so simple. Sometimes.
See, he knows what's
up. Sometimes. If you can count it.
Svend knows what's up.
I know what's up.
Hey, that's Dave Matthews. We're happy. There's going to be a lot more of this. I mean, it turned into a double episode, which I mean, were we that surprised, Svend?
I don't think we were. Kind of just assumed.
Yeah.
And then pretended to be surprised.
VerseCourseVerse.com, and then he pretended to be surprised at VerseCourseVersePod. Hey, everybody, join us next week. Rachel and I are here for a Here's Where You're Wrong. And Svend, I'll ask you a question hinting to what the Here's Where You're Wrong is going to be about. Mm-hmm. If you were to rank all the albums in the world, two questions. A, should live albums count? And B, should greatest hits albums count?
Dude, you know my answer to both of those, and I think I know whose side I'm going to be on. Yes and yes and going down.
So Svend wants all the greatest hits albums. Give them all to him.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody's already like rifled through it and figured out like, what I want to listen to first, I can dig deeper later.
Svend, it was so good to get to talk to you.
Always.
Again.
Always. Likewise.
Yeah. I'm not, hey, I love Evil and Rachel and all, but come on.
Hey.
JK, guys.
God, don't get me in trouble with the rest of the crew. Like,
yeah, I'm getting myself in trouble.
I know you gotta work with them, but
I do. They love you. You know, I'm consistently walking on eggshells. Hey, this was a blast. Listeners, stick around for next week. Video, audio, all that stuff. We're all over the place. Go back and listen to the Stone Temple Pilots one. Go back farther and listen to when Svend and I talked about Dr. Dre and Ice. We didn't talk about Ice Cube. I almost said Ice Cube.
What? That would be cool.
To say, I love Ice Cube. I love Ice Cube. But it's only audio, so you didn't get to see our beautiful faces. Everybody, good night.
Good night.
And good luck.
Good night.